Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Always. What fascinating life are we unpacking today?
Today, we're taking a look at the life and work of Colonel Noel Ellis.
Colonel Noel Ellis. I'm intrigued already. Military background.
You got it, but it doesn't stop there.
Oh, do tell.
Imagine this. From the disciplined world of military institutions to the high-stakes corporate boardroom. And then, a surprising turn to the world of words.
Wow, that's quite the journey. Sounds like someone who doesn't fit in a neat little box.
Exactly. And that's what makes him so interesting. We're going to try and unpack how all these experiences have shaped his writing and his perspective on life.
So what sources do we have to work with today?
We've got a stack of his blog posts. He's quite a prolific blogger.
That's promising. Blogs can offer some great personal insights.
Absolutely. And we also have a fascinating interview he did with ForceNet E-Zine.
ForceNet E-Zine. He must be doing something right to be featured there.
He was actually their Author of the Month.
Impressive. I'm even more curious now. Where do we even begin with someone who has such a diverse background?
Well, let's start at the beginning. His military journey is a great foundation.
Right, lay the groundwork. So where did his military career begin?
He started off at Sainik School Kapurthala.
Ah, a breeding ground for future leaders.
Then it was on to the National Defense Academy and the Indian Military Academy. He was commissioned into the 17th Mechanized Infantry in 1985.
A solid start to a military career.
And his service didn't stop there. He also served with the Assam Rifles.
The Assam Rifles, known for their challenging deployments, right?
Exactly. He operated in places like Kashmir, Manipur, definitely high-pressure situations.
I can imagine. That kind of experience must shape you, change your perspective.
Absolutely. But it's his participation in Operations Vijay and Parakram that truly highlight his dedication.
Oh, those are significant moments in India's military history. He was on the front lines for those.
He was, facing challenges head-on, showing incredible courage and leadership.
Wow, that's quite a legacy. But then the shift to the corporate world, how did that even happen?
Well, after retiring from the Army, Colonel Ellis decided to pursue an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad.
IIM Ahmedabad, that's a top-tier institution. Talk about a change of pace.
From leading troops to navigating the world of business, it's not your typical career trajectory.
Not at all. What kind of roles did he take on in the corporate world?
He held positions in infrastructure development and then joined JSW Steel.
JSW Steel, a major player in the industry. So he went from leading soldiers to leading teams in the steel industry. Do you think the skills translated?
I think there's definitely a connection. Discipline, strategic thinking, making tough decisions. Those are valuable in both worlds.
You've got a point. And the experience of leading people, motivating them, working towards a common goal, that's invaluable no matter what you're doing.
Right. It's like the military provided him with a foundation, and he built upon that in the corporate world.
And somewhere along the way, the writing started to emerge. It's like a hidden talent that bloomed later in life.
Almost. He always enjoyed writing, even as a boy. But it was really during his time working in Mumbai that this passion was reignited.
Mumbai, huh? That's a city that can inspire you, that's for sure. What triggered it?
Well, remember the security plan he created for the NSCI Club?
Ah, yes, the one that was eerily similar to the 26/11 attacks. That must have been a defining moment.
It was. He had outlined various attack scenarios, and though the actual attacks differed slightly, the core elements were strikingly similar.
Wow, what a chilling coincidence. It makes you think about how life experiences, even the difficult ones, can shape our path, you know?
Absolutely. And I think for Colonel Ellis, that event, that brush with tragedy, really pushed him to start putting his thoughts and experiences into words.
To make sense of the world around him, to process what he had witnessed.
Exactly. And his first article was about the 26/11 attacks, their prevention and the repercussions, a way to channel those feelings into something meaningful.
It's like his writing became an outlet, a way to cope with the weight of that experience, and from there, the writing just flowed.
It did. He began to write about his military experiences, his thoughts on Pakistan, the challenges Indian soldiers face, the complexities of terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir.
It's amazing how one event can unlock something like that. But what's his writing style like? What makes his work stand out?
Well, he has this incredibly engaging and relatable style. Very straightforward, no flowery language, gets right to the point.
Like he's just having a conversation with you, sharing his thoughts and experiences. I like that.
Yes, So you can hear his voice through the words,
Yeah.
very conversational and genuine.
And I've heard he likes to throw in some Hindi phrases here and there.
He does. It adds a touch of authenticity and warmth to his writing, a little window into his background and personality.
I'm starting to see why ForceNet E-Zine chose him as Author of the Month. They clearly saw something special in his work.
They did. And that interview is a treasure trove of insights into his creative process and his motivations. We'll dive into that next time.
I can't wait to hear what he has to say for himself. I'm ready to be inspired.
Me too. See you next time.
Welcome back to our deep dive. Last time, we were just about to jump into Colonel Ellis's interview with ForceNet E-Zine.
I'm excited to hear this. We've covered his impressive journey from the military to the corporate world and now to becoming an author, but getting his perspective firsthand will be fascinating.
It's really insightful. Are you ready to step into the interview?
Absolutely. Let's hear it.
All right. Picture this. You're sitting with Colonel Ellis, maybe with a cup of tea, ready for a chat about his life and his writing.
I can picture it now. What was the first question?
Well, the interviewer starts by asking about his transition from such a successful military and corporate career to becoming an author. What was the turning point? When did he realize writing was more than just a hobby?
That's a great question. I'm curious to hear his answer.
In a conversational tone, channeling Colonel Ellis. Well, writing has always been a part of my life. Even as a young boy, I enjoyed putting pen to paper.
So it's always been there. But when did it become more serious?
Asked Colonel Ellis. It was during my time in Mumbai, working in the corporate world, that the urge to write really took hold. You see, I had witnessed and experienced so much, and I felt this need to share my perspectives.
To make sense of it all, perhaps.
As in Colonel Ellis, exactly. To process those experiences and try to understand the world around me.
In the last part, we talked about his security plan for the NSCI Club and how it foreshadowed the 26/11 attacks. Did the interviewer ask about that?
They did. They asked if that experience, creating that security plan, played a role in his decision to start writing more seriously.
What did he say?
As Colonel Ellis, the 26/11 attacks were a turning point for me, a moment of reckoning. It was a tragedy that shook us all.
I can only imagine.
As Colonel Ellis. And knowing that my security plan had outlined similar scenarios, it made it all the more personal,
Yes, that must have been incredibly difficult.
As Colonel Ellis. It was then I truly felt a sense of responsibility, a need to use my voice and share my insights.
To try to prevent something like that from happening again.
As Colonel Ellis, to do what I could, to contribute in any way I could, to make the world a safer place. And writing became my way of doing that.
It's amazing how a single event can change your entire perspective.
It's true. The interviewer then asked about his first article, which focused on the attacks. It seems that was a significant step for him.
It sounds like it.
As Colonel S, writing became my therapy, a way to channel my emotions, to process the trauma.
To transform that pain into something positive and meaningful.
As Colonel S. Precisely. And the response I received from readers, their connection to my words, that encouraged me to keep writing.
To explore more, to delve deeper into his experiences.
Exactly. And he did. He started writing about his time in the military, his thoughts on Pakistan, the struggles faced by Indian soldiers, the complexities of terrorism. It's like it all just poured out.
It's almost like that one event unlocked something within him.
Like a dam breaking. The interviewer asked him about some of the recurring themes he finds himself drawn to in his writing, and I thought this was really interesting.
Oh, what did you say?
As Cornelis, my experiences, both in the military and in the corporate world, have taught me a lot about duty, service, and striving for excellence.
Important values, for sure.
As Cornelis, and those values, those core beliefs, find their way into my writing, whether I'm discussing the sacrifices of our soldiers or the importance of integrity and empathy in our daily lives.
He's using his platform to share these important messages.
Yes, and he does it in such a compelling way. The interviewer then asked about advice he'd give to aspiring writers.
I bet a lot of people would love to hear that. What did he say?
As Cornelis, write from the heart. Write about what matters to you, what inspires you, what challenges you. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable and share your authentic voice.
Powerful advice.
As Cornelis. And remember, finding your style, your own unique voice, that takes time. It's a journey, not a destination. And most importantly, don't give up. Keep writing, keep learning, keep growing.
It's about the process, the passion, the dedication to the craft, not just about fame or recognition.
Absolutely. The interviewer wrapped up by asking about his other passions, like gardening and photography. We've heard he's quite the enthusiast.
I'm curious to hear how those passions intersect with his writing.
As Colonel Ellis, for me, all forms of creativity are connected. Gardening is my way of connecting with nature, you know. It's where I find peace, where I recharge, where new ideas take root.
It's like drawing inspiration from the earth itself.
As Cornelis and photography, well, that's my way of capturing those fleeting moments of beauty, to freeze time, to preserve those memories.
Both beautiful art forms in their own right.
As Col Noel Ellis, they enrich my writing, you see, by providing me with a wealth of imagery, emotions, and stories to draw upon. They add depth and texture to my words.
It sounds like a beautiful synergy between his passions.
It is. And he believes that everyone should find those things that ignite their soul, those passions that bring them joy.
To explore those connections and see where they lead.
As Col Noel Ellis, you never know what creative sparks might fly.
Wise words, Colonel.
The interviewer thanked him for his time and insights, and with that, the interview came to a close.
Even though we just role-played that, I feel inspired. He's clearly someone who leads a purposeful life, pursuing his passions and sharing his experiences with the world.
Absolutely. He's a testament to the fact that you can achieve great things in many different areas of life.
But we haven't even touched on his book, As Life Touches Me.
Ah, yes, his collection of articles. That's for next time. We'll delve into the heart of his book, exploring its themes and the nuances of his writing style.
I'm looking forward to it.
Welcome back to our deep dive on Col Noel Ellis.
I'm still thinking about that interview, you know.
Me too. It felt like we were right there with him. So genuine.
He's such an inspiring figure, isn't he? Achieving so much in different fields. But we've kept our listeners waiting long enough.
You're right. It's time to dive into his book, As Life Touches Me.
We've mentioned it a few times, but now let's really explore what's inside this collection.
It's more than just articles, you know? It's like a window into his life, his thoughts, everything that's shaped him.
And we've talked about a couple of the pieces, like Our Dear Pinky.
Right, and irritant and militant.
But there's a whole world of stories and reflections in there. What else can our listeners expect?
Well, it's divided into sections reflecting different parts of his life. There's one dedicated to his military experiences.
I bet those are powerful reads.
They are. He writes about leadership, courage, the sacrifices soldiers and their families make.
It's one thing to read about those things in general, but coming from someone who's lived it.
Exactly. It adds a whole other level of depth and understanding. Then there's a section on social commentary.
Oh, interesting. What kind of topics does he cover there?
Things like poverty, inequality, the everyday challenges people face.
He doesn't shy away from the tough stuff.
Not at all. He approaches those issues with honesty and empathy, a real sense of responsibility. It shows you he's not just a writer, but a deep thinker who cares about the world around him.
You can definitely sense that in his writing. And of course, there are those personal reflections too, right?
Of course. Those are scattered throughout the book. Anecdotes from his childhood, his travels, little moments from everyday life, gives you a real sense of who he is as a person.
It's those personal touches that make a book truly special, that connection with the author beyond the words.
And let's not forget those Hindi phrases. They pop up here and there, adding a bit of flavor.
I love that about his writing. It's like a little wink to the reader, sharing a part of his culture, makes it more engaging, more personal.
One thing I found really thoughtful at the end of each section, he offers recommendations for young readers.
Really? What kind of recommendations?
He encourages them to explore different genres, to read widely, to really cultivate a love for learning.
It's like he's passing the torch to the next generation, encouraging them to become lifelong learners.
Exactly. And he even suggests they find a hobby, something they're passionate about outside of school and work.
That's great advice. To have something that brings you joy, helps you grow as a person.
He truly believes in living a balanced, fulfilling life, and I think that comes through in his writing.
It does. His work is a celebration of life, a commitment to service, a passion for sharing and learning, a powerful combination. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our deep dive on Col Noel Ellis.
It's been a journey, hasn't it? From the battlefield to the boardroom to the world of words.
His story is a reminder that we can achieve great things in all different areas of life, that it's never too late to pursue your passions.
And that those passions can take many forms. Writing, photography, gardening, finding what sparks that joy within you.
Col Ellis is a true inspiration. So to our listeners, if you want to explore his work further, we'll have a link to As Life Touches Me on Flipkart in the show notes.
But as we wrap up today, we leave you with this. What are your passions? What stories do you have to tell?
Embrace those passions. Find your voice, and never be afraid to share your unique journey with the world.
Until next time, keep diving deep